Hey there, Chris from the Old Man Cycling Show. Welcome to another episode. This one has been in the works for a while now. I've just been very busy with work and haven't had a chance to do a voiceover. This is the second annual Meridian Great Valley Classic held at the Great Valley Corporate Center. This is sort of like home field advantage for a lot of us. This is where we do a practice race every Thursday night. Where there's one there every Thursday night, I try to get to most of them. Before we get into the video, my apologies. I did find out that my camera battery lifetime is about 1 hour. So I'm going to apologize in advance. This race ends on the start of the last lap, so you will not see the last lap. I'm sorry about that. I know you were all anxiously waiting to see if I could make a sprint on the last lap or not, or if I did better on the last lap or not. I'll just let you know that I did a half-hearted sprint. I did not go right out the back. I actually did okay, but you know, it's still room for improvement. So as usual, let's go over the course. So this is turn one. We're now on the first straightaway. The turns here are very rounded, very smooth. They did have a rule in place, which you'll notice. You'll see the yellow line. We take the two inside lanes. They were very adamant about not going over the yellow line. Through this race, you'll see that the motorcycle referee behind actually comes up and warns a few riders, me being one of them, to not go over the yellow line. They were stating that if you cross the yellow line, that was a rule. That was justification for immediate disqualification. They could pull you from the race. So now we're on the backstretch. The backstretch has a little bit of a downhill, which just came down. Now we're going up a little bit of an uphill. Nothing major. This course is relatively flat. It's a very fast course. Once you get on the top of this crest, it's all pretty much downhill until you get back to the start finish line, which we'll see in a moment. So we've come through what I would say is they call turn two. Now we're headed up to turn three, and again, all these turns are nice, very rounded, gradual turns, nothing real sharp. As usual in this race, you'll see a lot of the active yards guys. You'll see the Bigfoot teams well represented, and there's some other local teams that are in here as well. So my strategy this race was the same as I try to do now in the previous race and the race before that. Stay near the front, stay near the teams that I know are going to try to get away. And this is a 25 lap race, which equates to be just over 25 miles. I know this is a longer race. Now we're into turn four. So this is the fast part of the course. This is turn four. You come through this turn, and the start finish line is at the end of this straightaway. It's a really slight rise here, but once you come around this turn, you're pretty much full speed, and you just carry through the start finish line. So you can see we're coming down the finishing straight here. And as you can also see, the park was not closed. It was open to traffic. The organizer does a really nice job, Kenny Walsh. If you ever have a chance to do any of the races that he organizes, please do them. Support his outfit. He really does a good job of organizing these things, making sure that they're run well, they're protected, people are safe. Up here on the left-hand side, you can see some of my teammates there. We just went by them. We had a little tent there, so some of my teammates did the Novice 4 race earlier. We just crossed the start-finish line. That's a lot of information. We'll get more to it as we go on. Now you're coming on to turn one. Now this is this is the only real slight hill of the course. So this goes up. Nothing hard. It's just a little rise. Some strange things happen on this turn, though. The bunch really tends to compress here like an accordion for whatever reason. People come through the fast part of the course and hit that little rise, and I guess they stop pedaling or they slow down, and it just really compresses. And this same thing here. So we're coming out of turn two. We're going down a little downhill. You can see people are over the yellow line. I don't think it was this time around, but pretty soon you'll see the race referee come up. And again, people come down this little hill. They get into this slight uphill, and again, it starts to compress. Right there on the right in the Bigfoot kit, I want to give a shout out to my man Terry. He's back racing after a little bit of time off for some issues. Great to see you, Terry. Great to have you out there. So glad you're back out and racing. By the way, buddy, you did great. Going by me on the left there is my buddy Steve, number 344, also from the Bigfoot team. And just, I think that's Matt up ahead of me on the right in front of this woman that I'm behind. There was a woman, I think there were two women in the 55 race. No, that's Tim. So Tim is right there in the Bigfoot team. So Bigfoot, they had their guys there today. They had Joe, they had Tim, they had Matt. They had Terry, Steve, so they were good. The active yards guys had their normal heavy hitters. Jeff, Rich, a bunch of other guys from Bigfoot. From active yards. So now we're coming back into the back turn and making the turn 4, which brings us again into the finishing straight. So, this is very early on in the race. Not really worried about any breaks going at some sort of sit in, getting the pace. I just want to point out again up here, if you watch on the left side, you'll see some of my teammates there. It was great to have teammates at a race watching me. Normally, the novice 4 race would go off and 1 or 2 guys will do it, but we don't really have a team. This was a beautiful day out. It was nice and sunny, great temperature, so a bunch of guys came out and decided to watch. So if you see up here, I think we're the second tent in on the left. It's a tan canopy. Yeah, it's the second one. There's the first one is black. There's the second one. So that's where we sort of hung out, watched some of the races. So again, it was a beautiful day. Don't know what the temperature was. It was in the 80s or so. And you can see, it's not unusual to come down that finishing straight at, 30 plus miles an hour to carry into this hill. So far, so good. Nothing's really going on. This was a fairly crowded race. I don't know the exact number of people there in this. So you can see right there, there's a guy over the yellow line. People tend to spread out. I don't like riding the inside of this course. Like I said, I try to ride it most Thursday nights if I can get there. I don't like the inside. There tends to be like gravel, other sewer grates, things like that. However, as you get to the end of the race, you want to be on the inside because obviously that's the shortest way around. There's Matt from Bigfoot. So you can see I actually drifted over the yellow line a little bit. They warned you. They said, do not cross the yellow line. I did get warned. I'll just give you a heads up on that. I think at this point, there's one person that charged off on an early break. And there was no reaction from anybody. And the person that charged out, was not on one of the 2 teams that I watch. So I wasn't really worried about it. I figured, if they were worried about it, they would pick up the pace and start going. It was really early in the race. We're on the 3rd lap right now. Not worried about somebody holding out off the front against this group. For this right there, I just got warned. You saw the motorcycle pull up. He warned me not to cross the yellow line. So he was good. He was doing his job. He gave me one warning. He didn't actually pull me back. You'll see later on in the video, I think, he actually comes up alongside and pulls somebody back, gave them a warning telling them not to cross again or they'd be pulled out. But he actually pulled them out of the line. So at this point, we're still going. There is somebody off the front, but you have to imagine that they've got 22 miles, 22 laps left to go. I don't think a person's going to hold off this group for 22 laps. Now, of course, they could potentially get far enough off that they come and catch the back of the pack, which would sort of be an interesting thing. I wonder, what would happen. By the rules, if they catch the back of the lap and they lap you, you're going to get pulled. So don't know what's going to. There's my buddy Joe. First time seeing Joe in the video today. As always, he's one of the guys I try to ride behind or ride with. Joe is a very consistent rider. There's Jeff from Active Yards right next to Joe. Really strong guy, Jeff. But Joe's a very consistent rider, very, very in control, very easy to follow. He doesn't make any sudden moves, doesn't make any rash moves. He's just easy to follow. Now you can see they're starting to string out a little bit, going after the guy off the front, but still, it's really, really early. I just sort of think, people are feeling things out. I will say that at the end of this race, my average speed was slower than we normally do on a Thursday night. So the Thursday night practice race, it's 30 laps. This race was 25. We tend to average, over 26. I did the fastest one ever that I've done this year, and I've been doing this for years. We did one at 27.2, I think, for 30 laps. That was a fast race. That went right from the get-go. Right now we're averaging, probably right around 25, somewhere in there. You can see our speed right now is 25 coming into the fast corner. We'll pick up a little bit on the straightaway, but then the two hills will take some out. So you can see there are a bunch of active yards guys here, and I think they have the same strategy they always have. Send people, if they get caught, send them again, or send somebody new, or and they come in with a plan. That is one of the benefits of having a team in the race. You can have a strategy, you can have a plan, and you can execute that plan. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Same with the Bigfoot guys. I was kidding around. I was talking to Tim before the race, and I said, do you guys have a plan? And his plan was, yep, ride fast, ride faster, and be the first one to cross the line. So there you go. Great strategy, great work. But yeah, that's the name of the game, right? Be the first one to get across. So anyway, again, this is just around and around the loop. One thing I will say too, I'm going to give a shout out to I think it's called the GV30. If you go on Facebook and you search for GV space 30, there's a Facebook page that is all about the it's not a race, it's a practice session, but they have it on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. sharp it starts, and they have it on Sundays when there's not a big race going on for guys to continue to get their practice. So if you're on Facebook and you want to get more information about the Thursday and Sunday night practice races, I think if you just search on GV space 30, that'll take you to the Facebook page, and you can get information about where we meet up, how it works, where it starts, and those are really, really, really good practice sessions. You can do what you want. You can treat it as a race and try to finish strong in the bunch there, or you can treat it as a workout and try to practice your interval training by chasing here or not chasing there and that kind of thing. So you can make it any kind of workout you want. So again, about the gauges I have displayed on the left side. Of course, the top one is the speed that we're currently doing. The one below that is my current cadence, my heart rate, the distance we covered. When that says just over 25, that's the end of the race. The power one, that's my current power. The top power one is my 30-second average power. The bottom power one is my current power. So the nice thing about this course is you really have no need to ever touch your brakes, unless something happens in front of you. So you can see here's a little bunch up. You can see that guy on the left there. He crossed the yellow line pretty bad. He got yelled at by the referee we just went past, but you should never have to touch your brakes on this course. But like I said, a couple times you'll see it. It does bunch up significantly, and you have no choice but to scrub a little speed, especially when you start getting into the inside of the bunch. Which brings me to another just obscure point. If you've been watching the Tour de France, which I have, man, I couldn't imagine riding in the bunches like they do. I mean, they don't have an inch on either side of them, in front of them or back of them. That would, I don't mind riding in a bunch, but boy, that looks tight. One little move, and as you've seen, the whole group goes down. So tough stuff. So now I'm just sitting on Steve's wheel. Very good place for me to be. Again, Steve's another one that he holds a good steady pace. Like riding behind Steve, he's a very good draft. We can see in that instance, we slowed down to 18 miles an hour going up that little hill at the corporate center. And that would happen on occasion. You come down the finishing straight, which is really fast, and you come up to that little hill, and people would just sort of take it easy, not really pedal, and you really feel the accordion effect. If you're in the middle or towards the back, I mean, you just start rolling into the guys in front of you. So you just have to be aware of it. You got to keep a look ahead to see what everybody's doing. I think at this point there is still somebody off the front. He sits out there for a while. It was a good couple laps. At one point, somebody actually said, I think I heard somebody yelling, we've got to bring him back or we're going to get lapped. I don't think we were ever in the worry of being lapped, but he was definitely jumping out. So again, coming around the back corners here into the finishing straight. This is just such a fun quote easy course to ride because it is fast. Like I like coming into this turn, just being able to, you can pedal through the turn, go through this turn, and just pick up the pace and get going. It is good from that point of view. So when Steve moves up, he's following the active yards guy. I move up, follow Steve, and go back up towards the front. I was drifting, back and forth the whole time. Again, it was very early in the race at this point. We've got a way to go. There's no reason to try to go on any type of attack. I don't think anyone really went. I think that's Joe up on the front, Tim over on the side. There's our 10 again. But you can see you can't see the lead car, and that's because, like I said, there is still a guy off the front. So it might have been at this point where somebody said, let's go try to get him back or whatever. But it wasn't a panic. Again, people are picking things up a little bit here, just trying to liven up the race. But even so, you still look at the speed. We're not killing it at this point. You can also tell, like, as things get more strung out, more single file, that's when the speed's picked up a little bit. One of these days I'll have to figure out, if I can mount a camera on the back of my bike as well, so you get the rear view. Because the front will string out, but the back still won't. But anyway, at this point, we're gonna do this for a little bit, go round and round in nice circles, or ovals, I should say. And while we're watching, I want to give a shout out to Ethan, Brian, Kurt, and Patrick that all rode the Ford novice race. I think Ethan finished 7th. Brian finished 9th. Kurt was close to them, and Patrick was close to them. I don't know the exact numbers, but they really rode a nice race. They worked well together. They did a nice job. I didn't film any of that because I was busy getting warmed up for my race. But we did have a photographer here to stay, and hopefully he got some good action shots. So again, we're going around. I moved in more towards the middle of the group because I didn't like playing with the yellow line. And then I will say this is one good part. When you come up in a group and you have people on your right and left coming into this turn, you really need to hold your line. And people that aren't used to riding here, it's just a tad off camber. You're carrying speed, so you need to make sure you're focused and hold the line. Some people don't necessarily do that. They get a little squirrely and might drift out a little bit or cut in a little bit, and that wreaks havoc on everyone. So that's just an observation I'm making when you're doing these types of races. Any kind of turn, you really need to hold your line, be predictable, make sure that you're not cut in on anyone or drifting out on anyone, because people are depending upon you to be consistent so they can be consistent. It is the huge domino effect. So you can see it's getting a little fragmented. There's a little group here, a little group there, but nothing really. There's still just, I believe at this point, still just the one guy off the front. So kudos to him, man. I don't know who it was, but that's a good effort to get out there and stay out there. So again, you can see I'm following this guy up. He was not hammering. He was just moving to get up towards the front. So I figured, yeah, I'll go up and get up towards the front. Said hi to my buddy Joe on the way by. So he gave a look back. I was gonna try to just stay with him, see if we were working to bring things back a little bit, but I wasn't gonna kill myself to get on his wheel. I pulled up. He was good. He was like a good marker to get out to. I did a good effort to try to just stay with him, and then eventually, as we get closer, I'll drop off. I think, if I'm remembering, I do this from memory. See, we still have 17 laps to go, which is spot on. That would add up to 25 miles. So now other people are coming through. So at this point, I think there was not a hard effort, but they were deciding, they being the group were deciding that let's see if we can close this down a little bit and get everybody back together for a while. But we were talking about the team concept earlier. Again, that's one thing I really like watching that. I like watching the dynamics of how a team works during a race, how their plans change, who does what. Especially because I know a bunch of guys in Act Yards, I know a bunch of guys in Bigfoot. Those are the ones I talk about most of the time. It's really interesting to watch. So right there, that's Matt from Bigfoot going up. So it's interesting to watch to see how, for instance, Active Yards will react here, because now they've got. I don't know if Active Yards had one guy up the road. There goes Ron, who takes all the pictures for the GV30 and as well as a lot of other race pictures. So if you ever go on Facebook and look for Ron Short's pictures, Ron, I hope you don't mind me using your last name there. He does a great job. He has a drone now that'll fly around and take videos of some of the Thursday races. It's really cool to watch. But back to the race tactics, it is fun to watch. I mean, you just, they have a plan that they set up beforehand, but then to watch the dynamics of it change as the race goes on. A team will send a guy, then the other team will have someone that they have assigned to cover a break if it goes to this point, and so on and so forth, and it works back and forth. And I think the hardest part is when you get down to the end of the race. Ensuring that you have the right order of riders in the field to set up who you're targeting to win, and you might have a few options there depending upon how big your team is. I think, like I said, Bigfoot probably had 5 people in this race. Act Yards might have had 10 or 12. So they have many more options. Bigfoot doesn't have as many options, but again it's fun to watch that. Especially when you have a front row seat. So my strategy for this race again was to stay in towards the front of the front half of the group. Particularly pay attention to the Active Yards and Bigfoot guys. If I saw something that looked like it was going to be a good break that contained both those teams, I would try to go with it. If not, I just wanted to ride a consistent race. My previous race, I thought I was consistent. I just didn't have anything at the finish. So now this one, I just decided that these guys were going. I had plenty of energy. I mean, I think this is the first time my heart rate's above 150. There were just a couple guys off, so I did my part to bring people along and get everybody back together. No sense letting this open up early. I mean, there's still plenty of time left in the race. I think we're finishing up lap 10 here. But this is how I like riding this. This is how I like riding this route. You can go around these corners at speed, pedaling through them. We're doing 30 miles an hour in the backstretch. This is why I like this. It's fun. One of my other sayings is, I don't mind going up any hill. I hate going up any hill fast, but I don't want to finish at the top of the hill. I always want to get the downhill part because I ride a bike for 2 reasons. Number one, you just saw the guy up front waving his arm. He's like, "Come on, we got to go catch that guy. That guy right there has got wheel number 2 right now." You can see we're close to the guy up ahead. This is the first time the car is visible in a while. So we're bringing back the guy that was off the front. That's Matt going through for Bigfoot. And this is the way I like going up. See, we're going up this hill more at over 25, 24 around there. You can do that. You can go up that. It's not a big hill. You can carry your power from the turn through it. And now it's pretty much all coming back together. So the guy off the front, he's not off by much. Again, we get around this bend, you should be able to see the lead car. There's a car up the road, and there's the lead guy just got caught. So now everybody's back together again. So he was out there, let's see, so he's probably out there a good at least 8 laps. So kudos to him. Nice job. It did take a little bit of work to bring back. So now this is what happens. So now you get a couple of counterattacks going off, and you wait to see who's going to react or who's not going to react. And normally on Thursday nights, you'll see there's like a little bus stop up here on the left. Let's see, right about, if you look on the left side of the road, right there. You see a little overhead thing? So a lot of Thursday nights, there'll be a guy that I guess he's on his evening break. He'll be out there smoking a cigar. Boy, I love the smell of that cigar. Well, anyway, now here goes an Acme Yards guy and Joe. So this is one where I'm like, okay. I want to sit here and see what's going on. Not that, again, we're early in the race. Not that I think anything is going to stick from this far out, but again, I don't want to get dropped off. So that's what I look for. I look for, if I have a situation where it's both an Acme Yards guy and a Bigfoot guy and another team in there, that's something that I want to pay attention to. And now you can see I'm on the inside of this turn. So this is what I'm talking about. When you're on the inside of this turn, you need to hold your line. You can't be drifting outside because, there's guys outside of you. You drift outside. Like right there, I looked back before I came around that guy in front of me. Because sometimes you'll be going through that turn 4 and 5 wide, and if you drift to the outside, you're gonna take somebody down, who's gonna take somebody down, who's gonna take somebody down, and it's just there's been crashes in that corner that I've seen that, number one, they never should have happened, and number two, the effects of them are huge. Just a big pileup of people. And this is another good spot. This little rise on the backside, if you put in effort there, it's easy. It's easy. It's never easy, right? You're always putting out an effort. You can close things down. You can see, we're going harder now. My heart rate's over 165. As I said in previous videos, once it gets like 165 and above, I'm working. I like to stay below 165. I max out at about 180, and if I max out, I'm not going to be able to recover from that very well, and I'm not going to be able to stay there very long. So, that is one thing. Like on my head unit, I pay attention to my heart rate, and I don't really look at my power or anything like that. I really mostly focus on heart rate because I know if I get out of my comfort zone, I'm going to need a long time to recover, or I'm going to blow up. So, between anything under 160 is really good for me. I can ride at that pace. I can stay at 165 for a good amount of time. Over 165, I'm not going to stay there long, maybe a couple minutes, but I need to get back and get some rest to get it back down. That's just how I work. And as everybody says, your mileage may vary. But again, I don't really know how to spruce this video up because I do like to do the whole race. I want to see, and unfortunately, like I said, I don't get the last lap here, which really is disappointing. But I like to do the whole race because I like to see what happens. As you're watching things, it's sort of like watching a whole stage of the tour. You want to see the beginning for when the break starts, and you want to see the end for when the sprint or the last climb starts. And in the middle, you're just sort of watching to see what's going on. They usually have color commentary and things like that. I have thought about making a highlight thing and things like that and jumping to stuff, but to me, I don't know, I'm not a single highlight person, so there'd be nothing for me that would necessarily be highlights. So if anybody has suggestions or wants me to has things that they'd like to see me do differently, feel free to add a comment. I'm always looking for ideas. Like I said, I like to just do the whole race. Unfortunately, this battery did not cover the whole race. But I'm watching what's going on. I'm watching what's reacting. Now, this is the one I think. So you saw Steve was over the yellow line. There's a motorcycle right now. So he pulls Steve to the side. He pulled him out, and he gave him a warning saying, you crossed the yellow line. Now, fortunately, I'm riding here. I'm thinking, oh darn, Steve got pulled out of the race, especially because the ref came up to him. He didn't get pulled out of the race. He got a warning saying, don't go over the line. But you have to look, like everybody's moved out to the left. You look at the inside here. There's nobody in there. There's almost a full lane open on the inside. And I don't know why, but people would drift their Steve back already. So the ref just told him, don't go over the yellow line, and then let him go. But he took him out to make sure he knew, and then Steve did a good job getting back in. But even here, like I'm on the yellow line because people are just pushing out that way. I don't see any reason for people to push out when it's 2 lanes wide like that. But that's just me. So at this point, I think it's all just a big bunch. It looks like there might be one guy off the front again. I was just doing that based upon I saw the lead car up there. So we're more than halfway done now. We just finished the 13th lap. And if you just carry a little bit of power up this hill, as you can see, like, my power, I made a little surge, but, you can keep your speed up. There's no reason for it to necessarily get squished. But like I said, sometimes it does. Don't really remember if there were any particular incidents in this race. I don't think there were. I don't think I remember a lot of people yelling. Last year was a much different race. Last year I think there might have been a fair amount of people that hadn't ridden on this circuit before. There was some yelling. There was some real sketchy riding. There were, especially in that first turn, there were people drifting out, not holding the line. I think the fact that this is a pretty popular area to ride, especially for those practice sessions. We've had nights where we've had well over 80 people out on a Thursday night. So, there's a lot of people that are used to riding here. You can see that one, that wasn't really sketchy. Like that guy came out a little bit, but, I could sort of see he was moving out. I was feeling like I was getting pushed back a little bit, so I wanted to move up. That mission was accomplished, but I didn't necessarily want to go to the front. Don't know if I did or don't. Maybe I do. Maybe here at this point I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll just bridge up to these guys. Yeah, that's what I like. I like if other people decide they're gonna bridge up, then I like, hey, I can get on their wheel. But again, you could tell by the rate that these guys were closing them that there was no reason to bury yourself to get there because it was coming back together. That is the one cool thing you get a really good feel for. As people go by you and they're bridging up to people ahead of you, you can see how fast they're closing. You can sort of figure out, okay, is that gonna be a big effort or a little effort? Now, this guy there on the right decides to go over the top, which just means he's trying to go off on an attack on his own after we just caught up to the guys that were off the front. But no panic, no panic in the crowd. That's the other thing. There's really not a lot of place to hide on this course. Like if you get a more technical course that has a bunch of turns that block after block, you have a left, you have a right, you have a left, you have a right. You can sort of slide off and sneak off the front without being seen. But in this course, you can see there's a lead car, so actually everybody's back together again. It looks like there's a guy off there. So there's nowhere to really hide on this course. It's a really open course, which is good and bad. It's good in that again, you shouldn't have to touch your brakes. You can roll around really good. It's bad in that if you're trying to sneak off the front, you don't want people to know exactly where you are. There's that whole concept of out of sight, out of mind. If you can get off the front and it's a technical course where there's a lot of turns and you're not seen, people don't really know how to react or when to react. They don't know how far you are unless they have somebody yelling at a time gap. So you can see the pace is picking up a little bit here. And this is sort of what I do on when I go Thursday nights as well. I don't mind if a bunch of people pass me. There are opportunities where you put some power down. You can go from the middle of the pack to the front of the pack pretty quickly. So you just saw in that backstretch, I was sort of taking the backstretch off, so to speak. I didn't really do anything. A bunch of people passed me, but at that point, I'm not worried about it. Still 10 laps to go in the race. It's early yet. I know that like here, I'm moving up, putting out a little bit of power, but nothing major. If I decide I want to go up, I can put some power out. Now, if the race is on and I try to do that, well, that might be race over for me. But again, you can move up here, especially on this stretch right here. It's a slight rise. I mean, it can't be more than 2%, but it's enough that if you put your power out and people are doing like they are here, they back off a little bit. You can go up, so you can just see. Since that turn one to this point, I probably made up 30 places, 20 places at least. So I don't worry about it if I drift back, because like I said, I do the same things Thursday nights. I'm really used to the speed of this loop, knowing when things are going to go or not go. So, and now I'm pretty much right back up in the front again. All right, those little sewer covers. It's funny, since I switched to tubeless tires, which by the way, I will never go back. I run them at a lower pressure now. I guess I run mine at 2 different pressures. I don't know why I do it, other than I think I read somewhere that somebody recommended. So like I run at about between 80 and 85 psi in my tubeless tires, and it is just a world of difference. I don't feel any difference in terms of rolling resistance, but I definitely feel a difference in terms of comfort. They just seem to roll over any bumps. Ron decided he's going to go chase that down. I think I decide I'm going to go after Ron. So just one guy went off the front, and if you saw back there, I moved over a little bit because I wasn't necessarily interested in chasing it down, but at this point, I think we all come back together. If this is where I'd like to have a rear camera, because I'm pretty sure I heard people behind me. You can sort of get a feel for the bike noise behind you. So I think at this point everybody's back together. Yeah, everybody's back. So I'll come through and I'll move over to the left. And this is another spot, like you'll see people just, they either come by you or they're going to move over to the left with you. I think if you move far enough to the left, so now they're coming by. So this is really a cool shot. If you look at this, you got two Bigfoot guys, three active yards guys, and they're sort of like stalking each other. It's like the birds of prey. They're flying around the sky. You got your team colors on. You're like, okay, who's gonna make a move? They're all spread across the road, just waiting. Who's gonna do what. So now Steve comes and Steve's gonna set a pace, and now you're gonna see them all start to fall into formation. That was a really cool shot. I really like that shot. Hopefully the teams get to see that. That's one of the cool things about riding behind us. You get to see stuff like that happen, and you're in the moment. That's almost as much fun as doing the race itself, right? You got a front row seat to that. It's really cool to see. They're figuring out in that moment. Okay, am I going to push? Am I going to wait for them to push? Do I move my pawn to that space, or do I sacrifice my queen type stuff if you're a chess person? But that was a cool shot. I didn't realize that was on there. Again, when I watch these things, normally, I'm just doing this off the cuff as it goes, so it might not sound like it's a smooth flowing dialogue as I'm talking about the race, and for the most part, it's not. But yeah. So now, everybody's back together. The two big teams that are in this race are well represented in the front pack. Again, I still think it's too early for something major to happen. At this point in my mind, I've already talked myself into saying, it's going to happen in the last 3 laps. People are really going to start to position themselves in the last 3 laps. So I'm already thinking about we've got 8 laps to go. So now I'm just thinking about sit in, just watch, but. It's going to come down. It's going to come down to positioning in the last 3 laps, especially where you are going into the bell lap. And my thought there, and I have to tell you honestly, I was already thinking about it at this point, is I wanted to be on the inside, and that's going to come into play because you're going to see at one point during the next couple laps, I start to drift way back because I have no way to get over to the inside without going back and around. But you can see, like, there'll be guys from just single riders like me that'll go off the front, and there's no reaction. And I really think that's because like me, the people that are used to riding here, especially on the teams, know that they can shut that down. That there's no reason to chase it. Just watch it. Don't let it get too out of hand. But this is a really fast course when you want it to be. So again, if the single person goes off, there's no real panic. It's when you get those teams represented with a bunch of others that goes off. That's panic time, because that can stick. So it looks like we're just finishing up the 18th lap. We'll have 7 to go after this. And this is usually a sign, people are taking a breather. There's not a lot of heavy hammering going on down here, down the finishing stretch. I think people are getting their minds set up for the finish that's coming up in 7 laps. And it can take that long to sort of get the feel for where you want to be. How you want to set up your team, who you want in what order. For me, it's all about finding the spot I want to be and trying to figure out which rider I want to follow. You can see after a little break, things get heated up again. But yeah, that kind of on, off, surge, unsurge type stuff. I like that. I can recover pretty well. You can see, that little surge shot my heart rate up. You should see it start to go down pretty easily unless you start to take off again. My cadence is just picking up again now. Heart rate's holding pretty steady. Yeah, actually, you can't see it because my camera's on the front of the bike, obviously. But I actually drank. Like I always bring a water bottle with me. I rarely use it during a race, but I actually did take some hydration on during this race because it was a warm day, and I was feeling a little bit of a dry mouth. So this is one of those instances. I always wondered, should I take a bottle or not? This is one of those instances where I'm glad I did. So we're finishing up lap 19 here. You can see the lead car still up there, so everybody's back together. Just there goes somebody on the inside. Just took off. Doesn't look like there's any reaction yet from the group. And coming just through the start finish line, back into the there is a name for this hill. I don't know what it's called, but it's I don't know, the hill of doom or gloom or something. But I'm telling you, it's nothing. I think my whole elevation for the race might have been 300 feet over 25 miles. So this is a good sign for me, right? If I see the Bigfoot and Active Yards guys sort of grouped in there together, then I know I'm in the right spot. There's no time to really be concerned yet about where I'm going. I see the people I want to see around me. Not that at this point, I know I don't have the sprint to match these guys. I'm doing this just to get stronger, faster, be more predictable. One of these days, hopefully, I can get into a break with the right set of people because I think I can work and contribute to that break. But when it comes down to a sprint, I'm just not a sprinter. But I'm seeing the people I want to be around, so I can have a good, solid, strong finish. So this is all a good thing. This is fitting into my strategy and my thought process relative to what I want to do for this race. So we're just finishing up lap 20 here. Coming into the finishing stretch now. And you said that the speed varies all over. I mean, we've hit this straightaway at 30 miles an hour. Here we're hitting it at 26. So it wasn't a full out effort the whole time. It was sort of some people would go, it would come back, it would go, it would come back. So you see my heart rate's under 150 now, which is that's really good recovery. But now's when you got to start thinking about, okay, I need to figure out, within the next 2 laps, I got to start positioning myself to where I want to be. So now here's another. You just saw this guy right here in front of me on the left. He went across the yellow line. I mean, he was clearly across, but the referee didn't come up and say anything to him, which, I understand why he warned me, why he warned Steve. I get that. But, again, it's like anything else. It seems like it's more of a subjective warning than an objective one. Either you cross the line or you don't. If you cross the line, get warned. Do it multiple times, get pulled. But, those guys have a tough job. It's hard to do. So you can see right there, I'm on the line. Didn't cross it, but I was on it. Because again, things seem to always want to push out to the left. So now Steve's going to the front. See if this picks up the pace a little bit. I suspect it will. It's definitely got the interest of the group now, so things are picking up. So at this point now, when things start to pick up, you got to look for a spot to slot in. Like I'm riding out in the wind a little bit, so I want to get on a wheel as opposed to be, it makes that much of a difference as opposed to being like in a draft line. You are taking on significantly more wind if you're not on the draft line. So I'm trying to move in, and you sort of have to be a little forceful about it. Never dangerous, but you sort of have to get your wheel going in. It's like merging into traffic when people don't want you to merge. They're not going to sacrifice their car to prevent you from coming in, but you're going to have to make your intentions well known that you plan to come in. It's a little bit harder to do on a bike when your skin and your bike are at risk. You're not in an enclosure. It's not as protected, but it's the same type of philosophy. You got to assert your presence and just to get in. So at this point, this is where I think after the race, when I was talking to Steve from our team, Steve K, he was saying, I noticed as you got into the towards the end, you were drifting back. That's because like I said earlier, my intention was I want to finish on the inside. I'm all the way to the left. I can be a little bit more left, I guess, because there's still room between the yellow line. But this isn't where I want to finish the race. I want to finish on the inside. So I'm trying to figure out how do I get there. I don't think I'm that far back either. I mean, I'm still in the front half of the group. The problem with where I am right now, though, is if an attack did go off the front, I wouldn't be able to get it. I'd be out of contention for that. But I still see enough people, what I consider the smart ones that are very instinctive to know when to go. I still see enough of them around that I'm not worried yet. Like for instance, my eyeballs on Ron up there in the red and black. Like that's a wheel that I'm thinking, hey, I want to be on. For the last two laps if I can get there. So now, how do I get there? There's Terry up there. Again, another good wheel to be on. Well, the Terry, again, I'm just so happy to have Terry back in the group riding. Great to see him out there. He looks great. He said he's feeling better every day. Just really, really good. Good to see you, Terry. I think that's Carl in the WCCC shirt. All right, so we're just about to finish up the 22nd lap. So we've got 3 laps to go, and I'm probably just in the midpoint of the pack. Not a good place to be if somebody decides you're going to hammer it the last 3 laps. My power is really low. Sort of stuck here. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out how do I get over. I want to be inside. Obviously, the inside line is the shortest line. Very true. I'm as far outside as you can be, but I think eventually I do get there. And like I said, apologies. I'll just tell you now. I think Active Yards got first place. Bigfoot got second place. I don't know who got third place. I think I finished in 21st, which was good for me. I did have what I would consider a sprint, if you want to call it that. I mean, the power wasn't significant, but I got on the wheels. I gave it an effort, and my apologies for not having the last lap on film. Hopefully I will be getting a new GoPro that has a longer battery life. I use a GoPro Hero 7. I heard that the Hero 11 has up to 30% longer battery life. Now, of course, they put in ideal conditions around that. I don't know what ideal conditions are. Does that mean it's off? But anyway, you can see here I just decided, okay, I got to figure out a way. So I made a big surge to move up a lot. Didn't necessarily want to be on the front, but I moved up a lot. You can see I was in the back. Now Now I'm up. There's one guy off the front. Not worried about that. Like I said, the two big teams during this race aren't going to let that happen. And shout out to Steve for his orange gloves again. He told me Terry let him borrow them, so Steve uses them now. Because Terry gave him good luck gloves. Yes, the things you hear. So now things are starting to get set up. You can see that Bigfoot's up near the front. Actor Yards is up near the front. The guys are trying to get in position. So we have 2 laps to go now. So this is where I am getting where I want to be. I've worked my way into the inside. I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I really think that if I had the ability to sprint, which I will be working on now through next season, but I'm not giving up on this season yet. If I had the ability to sprint, I would place a little bit better for sure. It's a shame I don't have the last lap, because I did actually sprint, but I was still being passed. But I also passed some people, so that's something you'd like to pick out things to work on. But now you can see that the teams coming to the front. So now now's where you got to fight for position. You got to fight to hold on to the wheel you want to be on. It's easy to get pushed off. I like I said, I'm not an aggressive person. If it's a choice of going down or holding my position, or dropping back, I'm going to drop back. I only have so much skin, and old people break when they fall. So we're finishing up lap 24, and like I said, this is going to end abruptly. But you're going to see I get on the wheel. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to see it here, but I get on Ron's wheel, who I think is following Joe. And like I said, I was happy with my sprint, and I apologize again for not getting the last lap. But you're gonna see, like, it's gonna go through the start finish line, and the video is gonna stop. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you got some insight into it. I will try to get a better video next time in the whole race, but kudos to Actor Yards and the Bigfoot guys. They rode a great race. It's really fun to watch the action go on. And this is Chris from the Old Man Cycling Show saying like, subscribe, and peace. And it's about to end right when we get to this bend. There you go.